Life is poker, not chess. Annie Duke begins by explaining that most of the decisions we make in life are less like chess, where every move has clear consequences, and more like poker, where luck, uncertainty, and incomplete information play a huge role. In poker, you can make the best possible decision and still lose, or make a poor decision and still win, simply because chance intervened. This is the central metaphor of the book, Life is Full of Bets. Every choice we make is a kind of wager, with probabilities and risks attached, even when we don't see them. The challenge is that most people confuse outcomes with decision quality. If something worked out, we assume we were smart; if it failed, we assume we were foolish. But good decisions are about the process, not the result. By thinking in bets, Duke argues, we can train ourselves to separate luck from skill, to see decisions more clearly, and to become more rational in how we approach risk, uncertainty, and everyday choices. Chapter 1: Why we misjudge our decisions. Annie Duke begins by examining a common trap in human thinking: we judge the quality of our decisions by their outcomes. If something turns out well, we tell ourselves we made the right choice. If it goes badly, we assume we chose poorly. But in reality, outcomes are only partly within our control. Chance, timing, and hidden information all shape what happens after we decide. She uses the example of a poker hand. A player can make all the right moves, calculating odds, reading opponents, playing with discipline, and still lose to a lucky card on the river. Another player can make reckless bets and win big thanks to luck. If we judge by results alone, we confuse luck with skill, reinforcing bad habits and punishing good decision-making. This mistake doesn't only happen at the poker table. In business, in relationships, even in health choices, we constantly evaluate ourselves by results rather than process. By learning to think in bets, Duke argues, we can shift our perspective. Instead of saying I failed, therefore I chose badly, we can ask, did I make the best possible decision given what I knew at the time? That subtle shift helps us grow more rational and less reactive in how we learn from experience. Chapter 2: Thinking in Probabilities. Most of us crave certainty. We want yes or no answers, right or wrong judgments, and clear predictions. But in reality, almost nothing in life is certain; everything unfolds in probabilities. Annie Duke argues that the best decision-makers are not those who claim to know for sure, but those who are comfortable saying, I'm 70% confident, or but there's a small chance this goes wrong, but the odds are in my favor. Poker players live in this world of uncertainty every day. They never know which card will turn next, but they can calculate the likelihood of each outcome and bet accordingly. In the same way, we can train ourselves to think in terms of likelihoods rather than absolutes. For example, instead of saying this diet will work or this investment is safe, we might say, this diet has about a 60% chance of helping me lose weight, or this investment carries a 30% risk of loss. When we think in probabilities, we begin to see life more clearly. We stop expecting certainty, which means we stop being blindsided when chance intervenes. And more importantly, we give ourselves room to make adjustments. Probabilistic thinking doesn't guarantee perfection; it simply puts us in a better position to navigate risk and improve over time. Chapter 3: Separating Luck and Skill. One of the hardest lessons in life is distinguishing between what happened because of our skill and what happened because of luck. Annie Duke explains that this confusion leads people to overestimate their abilities when things go well and underestimate them when things go poorly. In poker, this is called resulting, the tendency to assume that a good outcome means a good decision and a bad outcome means a bad decision. But the truth is more complicated. A well-played hand can still lose if luck turns against you, while a poorly played hand can win thanks to chance. The same is true in life. A business decision that looked smart at the time can collapse due to an unexpected economic downturn. A reckless gamble in the stock market might pay off because of lucky timing. If we confuse luck with skill, we reinforce the wrong lessons, believing we're better decision-makers than we are, or punishing ourselves unfairly when fortune simply didn't cooperate. By learning to separate skill from luck, we become better students of our own choices. Instead of obsessing over whether we won or lost, we ask whether we followed a sound process. This shift prevents arrogance, builds humility, and helps us refine our decision-making with greater clarity. Chapter 4: The Power of Saying I'm Not Sure. In a world that rewards confidence, admitting uncertainty can feel weak or indecisive. Yet Annie Duke argues that the phrase "I'm not sure" is one of the most powerful tools we have for making better decisions. It forces us to recognize the limits of what we know and to leave room for probabilities instead of pretending we have certainty. When we admit we're not sure, we invite curiosity instead of judgment. We're more willing to ask questions, to seek new information, and to consider other perspectives. This openness protects us from the trap of overconfidence, where we assume we're right simply because we feel certain. In poker, players who can say, "I'm not sure," avoid going all in on weak assumptions. In life, the same principle applies. A leader who acknowledges uncertainty can plan for multiple outcomes instead of gambling everything on a single prediction. A person making a career choice can weigh scenarios rather than clinging to one guaranteed path. Far from being a weakness, admitting uncertainty is a strength. It doesn't mean we lack conviction, it means we are wise enough to see the world as it really is, unpredictable, complex, and full of probabilities rather than absolutes. Chapter 5: Forming a Decision Group. Annie Duke highlights that one of the best ways to improve decision-making is to avoid doing it alone. When we rely only on our own perspective, we're vulnerable to biases, blind spots, and overconfidence. But by creating a group of trusted peers, what she calls a decision group, we gain a valuable check on our thinking. A decision group is not just about gathering friends who will nod in agreement. It works best when members are honest, diverse in thought, and committed to helping one another see clearly. In poker, this might mean reviewing hands with fellow players, pointing out mistakes, and analyzing choices without judgment. In life, it might mean discussing career moves, investments, or personal dilemmas with people willing to challenge your assumptions. The key is psychological safety. Members of the group must feel free to admit uncertainty, share doubts, and question each other's reasoning without fear of embarrassment. Over time, this creates a culture where truth matters more than ego, and where learning is prioritized over being right. Through decision groups, we sharpen our ability to think in bets, because we no longer rely only on our own flawed lens. Instead, we gain a collective perspective that helps us separate skill from luck, process from outcome, and good reasoning from blind chance. Chapter 6: Accountability and Feedback. Decision-making improves when we hold ourselves accountable and actively seek feedback. Annie Duke emphasizes that it's easy to trick ourselves into believing we made the right choice if we never examine our reasoning. Accountability is the safeguard against self-deception. Poker players often keep detailed records of their hands and strategies, not because they enjoy reliving losses, but because reflection is the only way to grow. In the same way, we can track our decisions, writing down what we chose, why we chose it, and what we expected to happen. Later, we can compare those notes with the actual results. This process helps reveal whether our success came from solid reasoning or sheer luck. Feedback is equally vital. Without it, we risk repeating the same mistakes. A decision group, mentors, or even honest colleagues can serve as feedback providers, but we must be willing to listen without defensiveness. Accountability means replacing the need to look right with the desire to get it right. The more we hold ourselves to this discipline, the more precise our decision-making becomes. Instead of drifting into self-serving narratives, we build a feedback loop where every choice becomes an opportunity for learning. Chapter 7: Life as a Series of Bets. At the heart of Annie Duke's philosophy is the realization that life itself is a series of bets. Every choice we make, whether it's what career to pursue, who to marry, or even what to eat for lunch, is a wager on how the future will unfold. We never know the outcome with certainty, but we stake our time, energy, and resources on the probability that one path will serve us better than another. Unlike poker, where the cards are visible and the game has clear rules, life is far more complex. The stakes are often higher, the variables countless, and the results stretched across years rather than minutes. But the mindset remains the same. Good decision-making comes from embracing uncertainty, weighing probabilities, and refining our process instead of clinging to illusions of control. When we accept life as a series of bets, we stop asking will this work out, and start asking what are the odds this choice gets me closer to where I want to go. That small shift reframes failure not as catastrophe, but as one of the possible outcomes we already accounted for. Every bet, win or lose, becomes feedback that strengthens our future decisions. Living this way is not about recklessness, it's about strategy. It's about facing uncertainty with clarity, humility, and the courage to keep placing bets that move us forward. Betting on better choices. Thinking in Bets by Audiobook is not just a book about poker, it's a guide to navigating the uncertainty of everyday life. It teaches us that certainty is an illusion, that luck and skill are often tangled, and that the best way forward is to embrace probabilities, seek accountability, and learn from every outcome. Life is unpredictable, but by thinking in bets, we can tilt the odds in our favor and make choices that steadily improve over time. If you enjoyed this summary and want more deep dives into life-changing books, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next one. Share this with someone who wants to sharpen their decision-making skills, and let's keep learning together.